With the 2019 Samurai Shodown game coming later this year, and also with the limited, or shall I say very limited bit of information that we have about the game, it is only normal that fans start to speculate about which character is in and which character is out. While we know that some characters like Haomaru, Galford, Nakoruru and others are in due to them being in the trailer, and others like Charlotte, Ukyo and Genjuro who are definitely gonna appear due to their popularity, there are still those obscure characters that not many people know of their existence and would definitely be a welcomed addition to the Samurai Shodown revival. That is why I'm presenting to you 3 obscure characters that we want in Samurai Shodown and 3 others we definitely hope not to ever see again. Before we go any further, I would like to mention that I know I will probably get some heat for this, as some characters in this list will definitely have fans that would disagree with me calling their favorite warrior an obscure character. But to try and appease their imminent anger, by obscure I mean a character that the general Samurai Shodown player have not heard about. These are usually characters that were not part of the series when the game was a phenomenon back in the arcade days. So all the characters I mentioned in this video are fighters that did not appear in the first 4 Samurai Shodown games. Now I hope this will make you feel better if your favorite character is part of this list. Now let's start with the 3 obscure characters we definitely want to see in Samurai Shodown. Shiki. Now let's get this one out of the way, as I know some will disagree with me calling her obscure. Shiki is a female character that first appeared in the Samurai Shodown 64 game. The title was exclusive to the failed Hyper Neo Geo 64 arcade machine and spawned a sequel in the form of Samurai Shodown 64 Warrior's Rage, not to be confused with that PS1 Warrior's Rage title, which was also about Samurai Shodown and was in 3D but was set in the future. Well, that one sucked, by the way. So who's Shiki? Shiki was chosen before her birth to be Yuga's servant. Yuga is the Dark Lord of the Makai, who might or might not be the same as Ambrosia from the first Samurai Shodown game. You know Ambrosia, who was also the Dark Lord of the Makai. Anyway, her identity and memory became fractured when she became brainwashed in her adulthood by Yuga. He engraves an enchanted snake tattoo on her back as a means to control her. She is told to find a man fit to become the perfect body for the Dark Lord's resurrection, and that is why she goes after Haomaru. Shiki uses 2 short katanas, she's super fast and can teleport and poison her opponent. Shiki made her 2D debut in the Neo Geo Pocket Color Samurai Shodown 2, which was a 2D version of Samurai Shodown 64's Warrior's Rage. She would also be playable in both SNK vs Capcom Chaos as well as Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. What is weird though is that she never made it to as a playable character in her 2D form in the subsequent Samurai Shodown games, like Samurai Shodown 5 or 6. Morozumi Taizan. Another 3D era character. Morozumi is a man who possesses the power to seal evil. Morozumi is a master of using spears. He becomes tired of fighting and retires to live a quiet life in the mountains with his family. Sadly, his wife and son are killed by Yuga, which puts him in a path of vengeance. However, after he realizes that he himself is turning into a demon, he returns to the mountains and seals away his spear forever. He continues to live a peaceful existence there, guarding his wife and son's grave. His Slash version of the game uses a giant brush, which he has an awesome inking effect that would definitely fits with the new game's aesthetics. Using his brush, Morozumi can write giant words and turn them into action. For example, he can write the Japanese kanji for the word wind, and his opponent will then hit by whirlwind seconds later. Much like Shiki, Morozumi made his 2D debut in the Neo Geo Pocket Color game, Samurai Shodown 2, but hasn't been heard of since. Iroha. Another character that will probably get me in trouble. Iroha was a new character introduced in the last Samurai Shodown game, Samurai Shodown 6. This female character exploded in popularity among SNK fans, and if we have to guess, it was probably due to her personality. But even with all her assets and followers, she still remains an obscure Samurai Shodown character. Many fans will instantly recognize her but will not know from which game she comes. Samurai Shodown 6 was a non-canon festival game, so even her existence itself remains non-canon at this point. In Samurai Shodown 6, it was revealed that Iroha is a crane who transforms herself into a Japanese maid. Because, why not? She serves her master and appears to think of him as the most important aspect of her life. Her master is probably the player himself, as she often bows and speaks to the player before and after the fights. Iroha uses twin blades, can throw bombs, transforms into a crane, and has quite the super move. Yes, definitely her personality. Now that I have caused quite the uproar with my selection of the obscure Samurai Shodown characters that we want in the new game, let's make things even worse and present the 3 obscure characters we definitely do not want to see in the game. Yokai Kusare Gedo. Now, Samurai Shodown 5, or as it is known in Japan as Samurai Spirits 0, was a true return to form for the Samurai Shodown franchise. But this did not mean it did not have some odd choices. In fact, 2 of the game's characters make this list. First, we have Kusare Gedo, who happens to be a grotesque giant monster with one hand and a giant unproportionable head. The devs of the game wanted to create a new giant fighter to rival Earthquake and another monster to fill in the void left by Genon. But Kusare Gedo was definitely not a good answer. This character can throw his head as a special move and eats his opponents for dessert. The fact that his animations were very limited did not help the character avoid this list of most characters we do not want back. Story-wise, Kusare Gedo was once a very kind man, but is transformed after his death into a gaki because of his cannibalism habit. God damn it, what kind of name is this anyway? This dude ate his own daughter when he first turned into a monster. Not cool, man. Ochamaru. If a giant one-handed cannibal red dude was too weird for you, wait until you see Ochamaru. A mechanical robot wooden looking thing, Ochamaru made her its debut in Samurai Shodown 6, or as it is known in Japan as Samurai Spirits Tenkai. This puppet turned puppeteer definitely wins the weirdest looking character award of the series in my book. Ochamaru was one of many sentient puppets created to defeat the Makai. All the puppets were murdered or broken in the battle with Mizuki, and only Ochamaru remains, so it now wants to do something, I don't know. Ochamaru only appeared in Samurai Shodown 6, and we hope it stays that way. Sankuro. Sankuro is the example of a lazy last-minute character creation. He's a mid-boss in Samurai Shodown 5, and is basically Genjuro's sprite with a different head and a mallet instead of a sword. In terms of gameplay and as a boss, he is one cheap son of a bitch. Sankuro uses his gang to hold you down while he smashes you or eat food in order to heal himself. He later gets access to a gun and bombs when he comes back to Samurai Shodown 6. Story-wise, he's the leader of a gang of bandits who wants to become the Lord of Hinoa, and tries to use his money and connections to do so. He's also the comic relief of sorts for the series, and so is his gang. While it's cool to have Sankuro as the goofy character that appears in a story mode or cutscene, we definitely do not want him to take a character spot in the upcoming Samurai Shodown game. Well, this was my list of the 3 characters I do hope to see in Samurai Shodown Revival, and 3 others that I do hope not to ever see again. If you disagree with me, and I'm sure you will, please leave a comment down below. If you agree, and I hope you do, also leave a comment. This was Struggler, and please make sure to subscribe, follow us on Twitter, follow us on our website www.kofworld.com, and until next time, have a good game.